Yeah, there's no way out.
There's no way out. Then you have to do something.
Huh.
But with a clear head and trying to talk out of it,
Right.
you're staying calm. And I think that helps in that process.
The breathing aspect of talking.
The breathing aspect, because you have to talk.
Right.
So as you're talking along, you can start to see things or whatever else, and you're seeing what the person is doing. And do they look aggressive? Do they look like they're getting ready to lunge at you? But hey, calm down. Let's talk about this. That all helps in that process where the guy says, "Oh, screw you," and he starts attacking. Then you have time. Your reactions become a little better.
Right.
You're not just shooting off the cuff and just going, "Oh my God," and
lunging at something,
and doing whatever. So I think that whole thing about the ABCs. As funny as it is, but it does go. It goes into that whole talking, breathing, and being able to relax in that at that moment for that time.
A thought popped up in reference to that. We're talking about training and the differences between the two. And it seems by breathing, yes, you calm down, you can do things slower, you actually understand what's happening, what could happen by these physical movements. But also it seems that you use less strength.
Yeah, definitely. I've always told everybody, don't try so hard to swing so hard.
Right.
Just swing. Just
let it go.
Yeah. As you go along in your training, all of that becomes stronger automatically because of the exercises that you do.
It becomes more natural.
And it becomes natural, and it becomes more, more precise in how you're doing it because you've gotten so comfortable doing it that it becomes second nature. Then again, it goes back to muscle memory, and because you're relaxed, you're able to swing harder. Then when you want to put something behind it, you cock back and you go, and you put more speed to it. And that speed then increases the power that you create.
And it seems like the mechanics then play a bigger part.
Yeah,
in
because
contributing
now you're always doing it perfectly. You're always doing these strikes properly. Whereas when you're just rushing through, not breathing, not relaxing, you're just
Right. Then your arm feels tired.
Right.
I don't know.
But if you're doing it always consistent like this, then you get faster. Then it gets faster. Then it gets stronger.
Right.
And now you're training your muscles and everything that's involved, and not just the forearm, but it's the entire body. Now, this is all mechanical, and it's all how the body will move.
Right.
That
What
then
it's
generates the
capable of
power for you, where you're not trying so hard because you're in such a relaxed state, but you are able to hit hard. And grab a stick, and I'll show you what I mean, because people are probably, what the hell are they talking about? Right? If hold that up for me. This is me trying to throw everything I can to it. That's a lot. You can see me cracking back. But if I just relax, it almost sounds stronger. It almost sounds heavier. And we can ask Naeem.
It felt heavier.
Right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if I'm doing this, that's strong, sure. But if I'm doing, you can hear the difference, but you see I'm not throwing that much energy, which means I'm going to last a lot longer than my opponent.
Right.
Because I'm not expending all that energy. It's a waste. But I can do the same thing, and I'm much more relaxed. I'm breathing. I'm doing all the things that
You were talking through it, so.
Yeah. Right? So there's, and that's how we generate our powers. We learn to relax in that moment, and we're able to swing and do the things that we do. But as we go along in the training, after months, years, or whatever, you do develop the power. It does come on its own, and you're still able to breathe and relax throughout the whole thing.
You still remain fluid, both in body and mind.
Because as it gradually goes up, everything else in the body and your brain and the mentality behind it stays with it, and it's all the same. I always liken it to the idea of Spider-Man, right, with Tobey Maguire, where Flash Thompson is going to punch him, and he goes, because by breathing and slowing down, everything does seem to get slower, and you're able to think because your brain isn't clogged with cortisol, and you're not, you're not in a panic.
Freaking out, yeah.
Because now you're relaxed and you're more comfortable, and you can see so much more, and a lot more clear, right?
Yeah, and it just seems that it's not as much about what you're being shown or what you're actually training, but rather the way in which you train it. It's the how that becomes
so much more important. Right, definitely. I like the idea that is the case.
Yeah.
Where we do things for 6 months, which is the very basics of exercises,
the physical stuff,
and the physical stuff, and that's all great because you have to understand what is an angle 1, angle 2.
You need a point of reference.
Yeah, you need that because if you don't, you're just kind of swinging around. And in our system, we use the clock system. You want to explain that real quick?
All right. So for any of us any of us who were born before, like the mid '90s,
The digital age.
we know what an analog clock is. It's all the same. Doesn't matter where you go in the world. The analog clock, 12 o'clock is right in front, 6 o'clock is right down, and then you have all the other numbers that go around it. Because it's such a common idea, Danny referenced it as our striking patterns. 1 o'clock is always going to be on your right side. 11 o'clock, always on your left. 3 o'clock, right to left. 9 o'clock, left to right. 5 o'clock, that's your lower angles. That's going from down up to, is that 11? Yes, and then your 7 o'clock is on this side, going up to the right. So in its most basic idea, that's all you can do. You can go right to left to right, up and down. That's it. So very basic idea that can be carried on. And again, it's just a reference point so we can tell our student, okay, give me 1 o'clock. Or give me an 11 o'clock.
Now, the other part of that is because, well, what do you do about the feet? Well, the feet are the very same exact thing.
This is fun, and if I may take this one.
Go ahead.
So anyone who does or has done any sort of Filipino martial art knows about the triangle footwork. You have the male triangle, what we call forward triangle. And then you have the female triangle, or the reverse triangle, as we call it. Now, if you were to put these two end on end, and where they intersect is the middle of the clock, here's 1 o'clock, here's 11 o'clock, here's 5 o'clock, and here's 7 o'clock.
So in theory, what really happens is this.
Yes. So that's what you create. This is the center of the clock, and these are the actual angles of attack, but also how you practice our footwork. And then at any given point, it can turn. Because wherever you're facing, that's your 12 o'clock. If I'm facing that way, there's my 12 o'clock. The angles stay exactly the same. There's
And
no
the
difference.
footwork, it's just that laying on the ground.
And that's it. And it's just put it on the ground, and it becomes the same thing. So I've always appreciated the simplicity behind it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much to remember.
And it's funny because Danny got that from a really cool guy by the name of Doug Marqueta.
Okay.
We have to mention him because
Yes.
that is where we were born from. Doug Marqueta back in the early '90s when he was in the military with Danny. I think they were both in the Air Force. I think Doug was in the medical field over there, and they became good friends.
They did. They trained for almost 2 years together.
So yeah, Doug, thank you for the clock system. We remember that from Ontario.
Yeah.
We did a training thing over there with.
I wasn't there,
Jim
but I saw
Delia.
the video.
Yeah. All right, so continue.
Yeah.
We had to mention Doug's name. He's a great guy.
Shout out to Doug. But the clock system then becomes both our striking pattern and our stepping pattern. But again, it's nothing that people haven't seen before. It's nothing new. It's nothing that goes against the traditional arts. It's just another way of transferring the information from student to student in the most simple way possible. Because then we can concentrate on the ideas of breathing, being relaxed, and doing these things in such a way that it becomes intuitive, where your body just moves versus the idea of having to remember, oh, wait, you block first and then you punch, or out inside block, what kind of block should I use? How about just hit the guy? If that's what you have to do, just hit the guy. And
You know, the other thing that Danny was always talking about is the difference between reacting and acting.
oh, yes,
right?
yes,
You know,
yes,
because
yes.
it goes along with what you're saying.
You're right.
You know, when a punch comes, are you going to react to it, or are you going to act on it?
Right.
And what the difference is that is, you know, I've always felt that by understanding the difference between reacting and acting, it's going to save you a lot of headaches.
Yeah, yeah.
So as an example, if I'm reacting to something, and if he's throwing a punch, so if we're here, he throws a punch, I'm reacting, but it's too late because I'm reacting. He had to throw that first before I can do anything to it.
Right.
Whereas if I'm acting on it, I get in there way before it even comes out. Even before he actually, when he was thinking about it, as it was back here, I'm already going out there. Sure, it comes out, but I got there first, you know, and I can go anywhere else. So that's a big difference. I mean, that's a big gap of time that you've taken advantage of. So,
And then right now that you said it, you said you used to do the Kempo stuff,
Yeah.
and that looks like the drill.
yeah,
You block first, and then you punch.
Right.
Which means you have to wait for something to fully develop to 100% power before you can do anything to it. And then if your block survives the full force of that
Yeah.
strike, then you get to punch. That seems very reactive in nature.
That was reacting. Yeah. So
Okay,
if we're active, we know it's coming. You know, the guy will always chamber back to get ready to throw something.
Right, you have to.
If I can get it at 0 or 25%, it's
Right.
better than hitting it at 100%.
Oh yeah.
Right? So that's how, you know, Danny says, yeah, let's be more active rather than reactive. And that really changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, and it goes with the mentality you talk about. If you need to talk your way out of something, that's being active in the situation. You're not waiting for it to get to a point where you can't do anything.
You have to fight, yeah.
You're doing everything you can to avoid it. Now, some people are just stubborn. You know, they're out there. There's some people who are
We
just
know those
very aggressive.
Yeah.
Again, we've turned away people because of certain ideas.
And you know, and a lot of times you know, whenever you do get in a fight or something does happen, you already know there's a point where you have to fierce fight.
Right.
It might not, only because maybe the guy's walking up and he punched somebody on the way to you.
Oh yeah.
Then you know, oh, let me actively stop him before he even gets near me.
Whoa.
Or jump him while he's hitting somebody else, right? I mean, again, there's that reactive and reactive. It's like you have to understand where you are at all times and be active in those things rather than waiting for it to come to you where now it might be true.
And I've come across certain posts, not recently, but in the last couple of years, because I'm kind of a martial arts otaku. I love this stuff. One of the masters saying that the idea of being aware, because we talk about also in our class the idea of, okay, you scan people. Okay, oh look, their hands are here. You know where their hands are. If you don't know where the hand is, it's kind of a red flag. It's not necessarily you're out there scared and what's going to happen, what's going to happen. But he equated it to that. He said doing something as active as just scanning people is like paranoia. So why would you do it? But
you have to.
kind of is where we live, and I've never equated it to paranoia, because again, it's the way you go about doing it that makes the bigger difference than actually just doing it.
You know, paranoia goes back to being thoughtful.
Right.
Especially if you're walking through an area that you've never been through before. You know,
it's a little darker than
it's a little darker than normal. You know, you're out too late, and you're by yourself. Well, you want to look it through those, you know.
Oh yeah.
You want to be paranoid.
I want to be a scaredy cat that day.
You know, and again, it goes back to, you know, just being absolutely sure where you are at all times.
Right.
And what you're doing and how you walk yourself.
Proactive awareness.
Yeah, all the time. And it's sometimes we forget, you know.
No,
you never go out, you know, for the day and say, oh, I'm going to get into 3 fights today. You know?
I want to get jumped today.
Yeah, you know, it's never that. You just go out and you just do, right? But when something does happen, you have to be aware that, you know, anything could happen.
Right. And at that point, do you, again, freeze up? You start lashing out and make a situation worse? Or do you assess what's happening
you relax,
in
you
real
breathe,
time?
And you say, hey, what's going on?
This is not a good place to be. How do I get out of this?
Let me walk farther. Let me go in the other direction. And you know, sometimes that is all it takes.
And it could be that simple. It really could be. But
you know, in the rape prevention class that we teach, we talk about that. You know, what do you do when you see, you know, a couple of bad guys in front of the 7-Eleven with a bunch of beers and drinking? Well, do you walk through them, or you go to, you know, you cross the street and walk farther away from them and not have to deal with that? Sure,
I don't
sure,
care.
you waste like a couple of minutes, you know, going the long way, but you also save your life.
Yeah, it's safer, and that's one of the things that a lot of people, I think, don't consider, is that if you never find out, that is the best scenario. It's better that
then you won that fight. You
survived. Yeah, it's better that you cross the street and you seem, you know, a bit of a scaredy cat, or you, whatever other, you know, synonyms you want to use for that word. But I'd rather be those things and be safe, because the only way you know that you're absolutely right is if they do beat you up, if they do attack you. And then what? Your pride is saved, but your body is broken? I don't know if that's a proper trade-off.
That's a bad trade-off. So anyways, hey, we hope that you had a good time with this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us.
You know, we will see you soon. This is something that me and Nain have decided we're going to do a lot of. We are getting some good feedbacks. If you have any feedbacks, please comment on the YouTube thingy, and
any questions?
We're going to try to fix that YouTube thing, do the subscription and like stuff.
Oh,
because I haven't done that part of it yet. No, not yet.
Okay. So we'll
so
figure it out.
We'll be seeing you soon, and